Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Leaving the Farm right here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps. We are not a corporate broadcasting station. We are not funded through federal funds. We are here because of you. We are fully listener supported. I wanted to bring up some interesting things that have been happening with the station. Hawks just about got the FM side going strong, but we are a listener-supported radio station, and financially things have been brutal of late. And if you'd like to donate, please visit us at www.freedomslips.com and click on our support pages. If you are a corporation and not into human trafficking, you can sponsor a host or a show on our station. Just get with Hawk back channel at freedomslips.com to find out more about how you can help keep us on the air, as well as help yourself by supporting us and evidencing that you are following the public law. This week has been very heavy, very hard. So many things have been occurring with various pressures all around. Threats from all sides, of course. The sheeple are kept under constant warfare, fourth generation warfare, introducing them to puppet governments. The forces at times become extremely hard to act under or function within. We're constantly surrounded by the Central Intelligence Agency producing variants on intelligence and presenting to the sheeple what Congress requires to facilitate its human trafficking schematic and variants. I go forward each and every moment in time, each and every day, and I don't speak much about personal aspects or things of that nature. My 17-year-old daughter, Mikkel, was taken through the FBI last year. She was targeted by an agent, a pedophile, promoting child prostitution. She turned 18 in August. And at that point in time, this agency came forward to let their presence be known. Throughout a year, she has been being groomed in variants on states of prostitution. And these factors, of course, influencing the minds of the children. And these things occur every day. It's not a one-time incident. It's not a happen chance. These things are perpetrated with extreme focus and intent. These things are presented and allowed to occur, by which to silence us and bring us on point through the action of low-intensity conflict, ongoing on a moment-by-moment basis through this schematic. This all benefits the corporate structure. She was taken underground, and she's located currently in and around Chicago, placed inside of, quote, bad neighborhoods, by which to posture the deaths and suicides of teenage children. This is what occurs every day. It appears as natural death or accidental death, but each and every time these are presentations, they are maintained with extreme exact focus and intent. Children are everything. They are us and the reason that we go forward. My child is no more important than any other. So I would like to tell the agents publicly that whatever you got, you will do whatever you will do. I will do what I do, and you will be held accountable in each and every aspect, and I will see you drawn and quartered in whatever means necessary to facilitate accountability. I am here for humanity, not... You are being put on notice at this point in time. This week we've seen many things occurring with the government shutdown. A stenographer stood up on the House floor and went off on Illuminati and all these bullshit concepts, pointing the finger away from Congress and what it is doing. That stenographer has to be maintained as a nutball in order for Congress to get what it wants. Her notes go out to 10 to 12 different individuals to transcribe each and every congressional hearing, each and every congressional act, each and everything that they do. And they do this to maintain secrecy. It is not public. You are not seeing everything they do. You are not seeing anything they do. Congress has everything tied up tightly in intelligence reports, intelligence activities. Sorry about that, folks. Technical difficulties. We've got everything. Everything's fine. Okay, so the government shutdown is it's under a form of warfare maintained as fourth generation warfare, and what they're doing is they're pointing the fingers at puppet governments. It's Senate, it's the House. We can't agree. It's the IRS, it's the Department of Justice, it's Israel, it's Hezbollah, it's everything but Congress. And everything is Congress. Congress created the National Security Council. Congress created the National Security Act. Congress created the CIA. Congress created the FBI under the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice is under the courts created in the 1789 Judiciary Act. These courts generate revenue into attorney hands and coffers into the original 13 colonies. Everything you know is an illusion. Everything you are is with the Constitution that they give you. And they create you as an individual, as a female, as a male, as a mom, as a dad, as a citizen, as you name it. These words, you didn't speak language, people, before attorney influence. Before Satan showed up, Satan is your adversary. Adversary means somebody against you. Whoever wants to trick you out, sell you by legal process, pimp you out by holding you attainted in some manner, that is your adversary. That is Congress, that is attorneys, that is psychiatry, that is psychologists, that is the medical industry. That is Satan. That is who you're dealing with. You're not dealing with some red devil somewhere or another puppet government that Congress comes up with and religious indoctrination presents to you so that you can live in this fiction, this fallacy. This week we had some more fast-paced, ongoing, just onslaught after onslaught. And the sheeple were presented with so much fear-mongering and everything else. You just have to get past that. You have to go past that and look at the actual hand who's doing these things. We're doing well. We're doing very, very extremely well. Stop fearing them. I'm off my game tonight because I was thrown off my game earlier today with some more threats. Let me go get that real quick. And of course, that's not going to be a real name in any way. Richard Checo, Checo, sends me a message this morning, 11:25. I was told to watch you carefully before he died of natural causes. Okay, threaten me again. I will find you. I've got the feelers out. It's just a matter of time. I've had enough of your threats. I've had enough of variants on threats, left and right. I'm tired of agents throwing up in my classrooms. Stop interrupting me. Stop impeding my thoughts. Stop doing what you're doing, because you will be held accountable. That's my function. In case your handlers have not contacted you and let you know what's going on, my function is to get rid of you, to do whatever I need to do to hold you accountable for what you've done. I don't have a personal interest in this. I don't have whatever you've been told. Get that out of your head, because each and every one of you is my focal point. You are my enemy, and I will stop at nothing until you kill me to hold you accountable. I don't have another function. I don't have another reason of being on this planet. I don't have any other benefit or any other. Okay, I just keep going forward, and as I go forward, I'm going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and I will take you out. And it's just simpler if you just back away. Go do something else with your time. You got plenty of body parts to play with. If you need to maintain this crap, whatever. Let's see here. Now, what was interesting coming out of Florida today, I'm trying to bring up the link because I had to reboot just before I started tonight. I'm sorry for my lack of preparedness. The local attorney charged in worldwide pedophile ring. Now, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. This was reported in Fox 4 down in Florida, Cape Coral, Florida. Investigators from several places around the world say former Cape Coral attorney Rex Powell was the leader of a ring which had a chat room called boylover.net, which had 70,000 members until it was shut down. Those members are other attorneys. Those members are judges. Those members are prosecuting attorneys. Those members are attorney generals. Those members are such as Rick Perry, governors. Those members are such as Joseph Biden, vice presidents. Those members are such as Patrick Leahy, the author of the Crimes Against Children Act, which of course is a privacy act maintaining security for pedophiles. Okay, now let's go on. The investigation started 5 years ago, but until they arrested all 184 men, only men, Now, the UN Report on Human Trafficking 2009 maintains that females are 69% the perpetrator of child sex trafficking. This group had 70,000 members. Why are 184 men being charged and not the 70,000? These are 70,000 legislators, vice presidents, clergy, priests, youth group leaders, churches, and the like. This is what they do. They prey on children for monetary gain. That is what a stock option does. It produces invariance on debenture, a debt secured by a human earning power. What does that mean? If you take an infant child and you rape it and break it and lose itself before it can find itself around the age of 13, it becomes product for a state. For a state. That child becomes product for a state. It is not a product of anything other than a government. And when that child is abused, it acts out. That is called reactive disorder, reactive behaviors. A reaction occurs after a specific action. These attorneys focus their attention on your and my children as an action to create predetermined reactive behaviors in the children that enter them into the medical and psychological industry. These attorneys focus attention on our children and facilitate actions to invoke predetermined reactive behaviors in our children to enter them into the criminal industries. This is how attorneys and governments make money. This is how attorneys and governments maintain their loans to each other, backed by the action of debenture. It's called the QSIP participation program. These funds are managed by attorneys. The original action is facilitated by psychiatrists, counselors at the school, therapists at the school, counselors, priests in the community. A priest is also a psychiatrist. These things maintain a business structure. A religion is patronizing something in exchange for protection. Government is patronizing something in exchange for protection. Stockholm Syndrome is patronizing your captor in exchange for protection. You know who your captor is when you're suffering Stockholm Syndrome, or when you realize you're suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Religious indoctrination is Stockholm Syndrome. Constitutional theory is Stockholm Syndrome. Democratic theory is Stockholm Syndrome. You are patronizing a captor in exchange for protection, and you're taking the lesser of two evils. Now, in the business structure at the inception in Greece, this was the action of Eros. And children are abused and traumatized, by which to govern them, by which to remove the self and allow them to be more malleable or cooperative in the exchange of services and exchange of monetary value. Humanity is required to stand up in protection of itself. Your government is your predator. Your church is your predator. These things are federally funded through 501c3 programs. And not only that, they're maintaining the derivatives. There's priests who are members of United Way just as much as judges are members of United Way, and oil companies are members of United Way, and the Red Cross is there as a means of holding prisoners of war since 1864 Geneva Convention. And every time you're contracting and initiating contact and communication with these entities, you're allowing them to do what they have the business license to do. They are there to kidnap you, to take you in variant states of being. They're going to come after you with the Internal Revenue Service or Child Protection or Adult Protective Services, medical industry, psychological industry. You're going to get sick. You're going to get depressed, which means depressed down upon, and you rush out really quickly, and you're seeking medication. You're seeking prescriptions. Pre means before. Script means to write, so that you can become what they want you to become. That's prescribing what you are going to be. So you're on this medication, and you're going to be funneled through the mechanism of the business structure into another state of being. Okay, so now you're disordered, where from before you were ordered. Now you feel discomfort or dis-ease. That's one of the most largest profit margins, is in dis-ease and discomfort. That's not disease. You believe that thing exists and it's a chronic thing. They're creating this by medical influence, by influence of the things that you're eating. You can go visit the Codex Alimentarius and look at the index. Go through your pantry at the same time you're going through the index at the Codex Alimentarius, and you'll see something very, 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 very horrifying and disgusting, because each and everything that you eat is an action. It creates a reaction that is beneficial to the business structure of what you know as government, or what you think is government. Governing. It's governing you. It's telling you what to eat, and then it cashes in on the back end after you eat it. It's making you sick. It's creating predetermined outcomes. And it's time now to stand and with each other, not far away from each other, not on the sidelines. Stop informing on each other. Okay, Hog says if phones are fixed, let me go over to the site, because like I said, I had to reboot. We just have to stand, because it's very overwhelming when we're each shouldering a burden, and if it's only across one person or 5 people, that's a heavy burden. If it's across the backs of over 100,000, that's a less heavy burden on one individual. If you'd like to call into Studio B, the call-in number is 310-421-4053. You can also find us on Skype at Freedom Screen for Studio A, or Freedom Screen 2 for Studio B. So back to this local attorney charged in worldwide pedophile ring. His little group had 70,000 members. 184 males were charged or arrested. It says here Powell was a lawyer based in Southwest Florida from 2007 until he was arrested in late 2011. He was well respected, had a great clientele, appeared to be an up-and-coming lawyer. According to documents obtained by Fox 4 from federal court in Indianapolis, investigators recovered videos and stills depicting a boy who was between 22 months old and 5 years old engaged in sex acts with John Rex Powell. His picture is located on this thing. Now, the funny part is that the other pedophiles that are around him, the other pedophiles charged him for rent on that child, and they're cashing in on the rent on that child. You see how this works? So if you don't stand up, it just continues. And they charge rent on children after they destroy your children, after they take your children into the system, and they're cashing in by trading the children and trafficking the children back and forth. Now, this says he got the child when he was 5 days old. Okay, these attorneys are slick. Way back in the 80s, I don't know if anybody remembers, Joel Steinberg, an attorney, he was facilitating adoptions, backhanded deals to help single mothers and help these females. Okay, he wasn't helping anybody. He was taking their children and entering them into the child slave labor market, child sex trafficking, and everything else. And the reason he got caught is because he beat to death Lisa Steinberg, and it was found that was never a lawful adoption. He had a 2-year-old in his house at that time that was not lawfully adopted. It was not lawfully taken. That's a function of CPS removing everybody's children for them so that attorneys can prey on them. Attorneys are trading them back and forth, just like any other negotiable instrument. Just like you handle a dollar bill, Federal Reserve note, these attorneys pass children around to each other back and forth as often, if not more. You hand another individual a dollar bill. That is what they view your children as, negotiable instruments. That is what they view you as, negotiable instruments. They are accountants of human beings. That is not something like a side effect of being an attorney. That is what an attorney is. It traffics human beings through a business called negotiarum gestio. The court process is called negotiarum gestio. The person negotiating the human being is called the negotiarum gestor, or court jester. They used to be called fools. They're now called attorneys. These are not coincidences. This is what they do. You have been subscribing to this saying for a very, very long time, and they've promoted to you various concepts, various illusions, various variants on trick and deception maintained by Congress, the actor, the playwriter. That's all it is a playwright. It's writing acts of Congress. Those acts say how they can trick human beings out. You have 1794 Treaty of Amity, Commerce, and Navigation. That act of Congress maintains that you can be posted through the mail to offset their debt that they have with each other. Okay, that's innocuous enough, right? Oh, yeah, you sound crazy. This is facilitated through 18 U.S.C. 1342, subsection 1342, fictional name and address. You've got a patent on your last name. So when you get that thing in the mail and you don't pay your rent on it, you're going to be charged for your use of your last name. That's not your last name. You've been taught to be patriotic to that thing. All it is a description of you, an entity or something, a res. Res in law means thing. So my maiden name, Erickson, that was just a description. Johnson, that's a description. Champagne, that's a description of a location. Smith indicates you're a blacksmith or a silversmith. This is what that thing does. That's what that thing does. It's a blacksmith, or that's what that thing is. It's a son of something. That's how they maintain the patent. They found you and named you. Just like if you looking out in the sky right now with your little telescopes and everything else, and you find a new star, you can name the star, right? Or you can go out on the ocean and find a new species of fish. You find the fish, you get to name the fish. Same thing. You're just an animal. You're just an animal. You've been taught that you're something special. I'm upper middle class, or I'm classy. I'm middle class. I'm low class. I'm trailer trash. I'm white trash. And black, white, red, purple, green, whatever the hell. Those are all descriptions, concepts. That is not you. You are a state of being, a sovereign state of being, the United States. So when you're attacked and somebody happens upon you that comes in with force and you're bound in something, you're called the United States. Somebody found a bunch of you and called you the United States, bound you in law, shutting up your kingdom. And instead of being I am, well, what are you? Well, I just am. You're now the United States of being. Your states were all seceded, taken over by none other than Congress, your transgressor. And then that was the end of the end of the end. That was the beginning of your death. You've been dead ever since then. You've been living as a fiction. You have a brand new constitution. They fill you up with whatever you want to be. What do you want to be? When you're maintaining as a fiction, you're not living. You're not self-defending. You're acting as a fiction. You're saying to other fictions, come on and help me. Let's put up some more fences here. We need some more boundary lines around me to keep me in check, because I don't want to lose my constitution of an individual, or as a citizen, or feminist, or female, or masculist, or male. I gotta be something, right? Well, why is that? Why is everybody striving to be? They're being traumatized. They're being preyed on by attorney. They're being preyed on by cops, by psychiatrists, by FBI agents, by the CIA. You're being constantly bombarded inside of the war, whereby yourself is removed. You don't realize you are already, right? When I grow up, I want to be, later on, I'm going back to school now so I can be, education, by the way, stems from the word pedagogy, meaning attendance on boys, and it's the same effect. Removal of the firstborn son. And when all of the males are taught to be fictions, they're taught that there's such a thing as a restraining order and law enforcement and everything else. They're not out self-defending. They're not defending community. They're not defending family. They're not defending anything, because it's so easy to walk down the street to the local church and pray to the father there, the other daddy. And it's so easy to jump on the phone and call 911 after the cops prey on you, to ask the cops to come and protect you real quick because, something's wrong. And it's so easy to call 911 and blame that kid over there across the street for vandalizing whatever, and never to see the reactive behaviors or the action preceding those reactive behaviors as that child acts out, to see that it was sexually abused by the local judge, and that's a creation. That's a creation. Or sexually abused by a local attorney, that's a creation. That little boy is going to grow up and he's going to have a predetermined outcome, which means he's going to grow extrovert and he's going to be vandalizing your things. He's trying to seek help and he doesn't know how to be otherwise. He's trying to tell you, somebody's hurting me. Hello, somebody's hurting me. And nobody hears, because they've been taught to go to that attorney that's preying on him. Go to those cops who are preying on him. Go to that priest who's preying on him. Just keep it all in that little family. All in that little church. All in that little government. You never want to open your eyes or anything, because if you realize that that pastor down the street or that father down the street is the one preying on your kids, in a heartbeat, you would self-defend. If you knew that Congress was the one preying on your kids, in a heartbeat, you'd self-defend. You wouldn't cry out, yay, they got that female that was threatening the fence at the White House. Now all of this terrorism implicated against the human populace is designed to make you more efficient, as to Pareto's rule, or Pareto optimality, maintaining that you're just a good product. You're the consumptive good. You are the consumptive good. It's 1/3 of the GDP. Your productive value is maintained in taxation and consumption. 1/3 in the medical, psychological, and death industry, and 1/3 in the criminal industry. There are no other forms of production on this planet. I gotta go to work so I can pay my taxes. I gotta go to work so I can pay my car payment. I gotta go to work so I can pay my mortgage. Taxation and consumption. Now, if you're not producing up to par in taxation and consumption, they are going to target you with medical, psychological, or death industries because they're so lucrative. So if you got yourself some good insurance, you're going to really find yourself in a world of hell because you got good insurance and you believe that you're being taken care of. Recently, I watched a very dear family member who was diagnosed with cancer after an innocuous annual lung x-ray. So then they find this spot on a kidney from reading a lung x-ray. Okay, she's got great insurance. So she goes through chemotherapy and eventually, she's told all of these things. It's shrunk. Okay, we just got to do another round of chemotherapy. Got to do another round of chemotherapy. Got to do another round of chemotherapy. Finally, she gets a hysterectomy. And everything's good for, 2 months? And all of a sudden, because of the chemotherapy, now, remember, she never had the first cancer. She was talked into the first one. Now she really does have stuff wrong with the frontal lobe. Now she's got a brain tumor, and she was just recently diagnosed as terminal. This is how you produce in the medical industry. Your friendly doctor that's doing these things upon you can only do these things as per your level of consent. How much are you going to buy from this law merchant? This thing has you slated for death. This is written in Memorandum 200, 1974, to the National Security Council by Dr. Henry Kissinger, who maintains that depopulation should be the highest priority for all foreign policy. You're waiting for the depopulation plan to come. You're waiting for something, all these bells and whistles, while you're running into the hospital medical industry setting. You're asking your doctor to diagnose you with things. You're watching TV and diagnosing yourself. You're going in for immunizations. You're taking your children in for immunizations. When a consequence, con means with, and sequence, of course, means sequence, in sequence, where a consequence of the immunization is that it's injuring you in some way. A consequence of Seroquel is pancreatic failure or non-existent ability to produce glycolic acid or insulin. Consequence of taking Tylenol is death. The consequence of taking Tylenol is skin disorder. Tylenol. Consequence of taking Motrin is death. A consequence of taking Levaquin, which is a quinine derivative antibiotic, is tendon tears. Okay, so now you get to go through surgery after you've run into the doctor for the common cold or whatever you're suffering. These are in sequence, consequence. Side effect is another name for consequence. So you are generating revenue by running in and being diagnosed in the first place and then taking the things that they're giving you, prescribing you in another realm. So now you've been written to be in pancreatic failure. Now you've been written to have tuberculosis, Imitrex, the medication maintained for migraines. One of its consequences is tuberculosis. Fun stuff, right? I mean, tuberculosis is maintained as a chronic now disease without a cure, although they had a cure back in the 1920s and 30s until they offed a whole bunch of shamans that knew the cure. Spoiled mare's milk, by the way. So this is the game. You're in a war. You are being used in every way you can imagine. I mean, if you're not running to the medical industry and you're not paying your taxes and consuming like good consumptive goods, you're going to be railroaded by psychiatry. You're going to get a new friend that just shows up out of nowhere, and that CIA human, HUMINT individual is going to, talk to you, get to know you, get to know all your secrets and all the loopholes, so that you can play played through the psychiatry industry or psychological industry. You're going to get a new friend that, always happens to be in the right place at the right time, and you're going to be entered into the criminal industry. Your anonymous neighbor, one of your anonymous neighbors is going to hotline today Child Protective Services for you, or Adult Protection Services. It's always that anonymous neighbor. Hitler called it informing. That is what it is. Information. You are being prescribed, subscribed, superscribed, inscribed, written to be something else for a business model, for a corporation, for the greatest show on earth. That's what this is. It's the greatest show on earth. The history of Greece is handed down from the Homeric hymns. Of course, those are translated by attorney, so that you have this grand, quote, knowledge base that never existed. You're the same Spartan as the Spartans. You're exhibiting the same behaviorisms. You're laying down your life for things and concepts. You're killing each other for concepts. You're ignoring your children for concepts, and you're putting them in daycare settings and in youth groups. You're putting them in public school settings where there's a known principal agent at the head of that organization. You're letting them ride around with pedophile cops. Call it the Explorer program. You're allowing them to be poached. Poaching is otherwise known as scouting. Scouts, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. Those are child poachers. That is their function. They're created by the CIA. Children who have a mind and who know the self are not going to stand for this shit. Modern children have to be broken. They have to be terrorized. They have to be traumatized. That's the whole game. That is the function of this machine. The business model relies on destruction of children. Destruction of family first. How do you get out the kids? Put a little pressure on mom. She's got a title. She's going to self-defend if you go up against that title. So, let dad be laid off. Well, what happens when he's laid off? Well, the burden goes on her. She's not going to subscribe to that burden. She's not going to take it. She's out of there. Especially if she's got a uniform that's shaking his ass. I can guarantee you 50% of the people who are listening right now, your wives have run off with law enforcement officers, attorneys. That's not a coincidence. It's a predetermined outcome. They offer her greener pastures so they can get at the kids. They know she's going to run. That's a predetermined outcome. She's socially engineered. She's created by the business model. I mean, if you look at it in the sense of actual business, it's called insider trading. The court process would be insider trading because it's set up to do and facilitate insider trading. They know how you're going to react. They know how she's going to react. They know how the children are going to react. These are all predetermined outcomes. There's nothing left to chance. It's a money-making business. And here you are, you're worried about the government shutdown. How dare you? Let it go away, and hold it accountable. You're not out there with pitchforks. I'm not seeing anybody with a pitchfork. I'm seeing this stupid shit all over the place, these presentations. I'm seeing people that are happy about 184 males being charged in a child sex trafficking ring when there was 70,000 members in the ring. I'm watching as people are happy about the Cash for Kids judges that went to jail. They were selling kids to youth services, psychiatrists, legislators, attorneys, and other judges. Where are those other charges? For Christ's sakes, get your heads out of your rectums. You're happy because they're holding one person accountable for this stuff. Because in your purview, it's great. There must be some authority. I mean, the alpha wolf kills other wolves all the time. Well, why? They're not alpha. When you've got your children being guarded by a wolf guarding the hen house, this is what you get. This is not an accident. Your kids are not in child protective services because of anything you did. They're not in foster homes because you're an actual bad parent. You accepted a concept, and you didn't self-defend when CPS came to kidnap your kids. You didn't self-defend when the local judge wanted to have a little piece of ass, a 5-year-old piece of ass. You're accepting these things. You're tolerating it. You can't tolerate it any longer. It's destroying you. This is you. You're looking in the mirror every time you read a media presentation about another child preyed on. This is your children. Stop being separate. This is what secularism taught you. The church taught you secularism. A church. Church, the word means a group of people. It doesn't mean that it believes in God. This Malthusian theory actually believes in Marduk. It's the action of Baal constantly. So you've got this church telling you all these things and espousing shit out of one side of their mouths, while on the other side of the mouths, they're selling your kids. And you gotta wake up here. It's time to wake up and stand up. It's not time to do anything other. I mean, this is ridiculous. You don't petition the wolf to please guard the chickens nicely, right? I mean, that's exactly what you're doing every time you petition Congress. We'll be right back, folks. Stick around. Hi, welcome back to the second hour of Leaving the Farm right here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps. We are a listener-supported radio station, and if you'd like to donate, please go to our website, www.freedomslips.com, and click on our Support Us buttons. If you are a corporation and you're not into human trafficking, you can sponsor a host or a show if you'd so like. Just contact Hop, back channel at the Support Us page, right at www.freedomslips.com. Now, going back to this story of the attorney, Fox 4, Florida. let's see, Powell was known in local circles simply as Rex. The documents go on to say there are images and videos of Powell engaged in sexual acts in Florida, California, France, and Australia. Everybody who listens to me knows that there is a group of pedophiles who maintain the global sex trafficking ring through actions of Congress. I mean, that's what these acts are. That's what these treaties are. Treaties are agreements between two banks to offset congressional bankruptcy. These sex trafficking rings are maintained by groups and individuals, especially those that are in colleges. The Electoral College, of course, is going to support and promote corporate policy because it's beneficial to them. Years ago, we had interaction with a federally funded through the United States Incorporated, through congressional funds. Her name is Frida Briggs. She works in Australia, and she reports consensus reality as to who the perpetrators are of child sexual abuse and everything else. You can find her research by simply Googling Frida Briggs, Australia. She's one of their main lines of defense. You've got organizations there in Georgia, a group of psychologists that we outed back in 2009, and the reason they killed George Zincon. Go look that up. It looks like we've got a caller. Okay, and it looks like we're back, possibly. Again, you're listening to Leaving the Farm right here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. We are a listener-supported radio station, and if you'd like to support this station, please go to our site, freedomslips.com, and click on our Support Us pages. The call-in line for Studio B is 310-421-4053 if you'd like to call in and chime in tonight. Sorry about the personal issues. Let's see. On CNN, wounded soldier stirs emotion with hospital bed salute. Okay, he's being tortured. He's being used as fodder. Of course, you gotta have that patriotism. You gotta have that patriotism to this thing, because otherwise it doesn't work. Okay, so I'm sorry, caller. I'm having technical difficulties. Welcome to the show, caller. Hi.
Hey.
Sorry about that. I missed your introduction because I hit the wrong button. Can you say your name again?
Oh, yeah, it's Alex Jones-Tard.
Oh, hi, Mr. Jones-Tard. How are you?
Well, just like you see, we're doing great now. We're back in business. We got the Congress back in action protecting us. You just got to keep exposing Bilderberg. Get this truth out.
Yeah, of course. So you think Congress is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the founding fathers, they set this up right. It's just, you just got a few bad apples in there is all.
Yeah, you don't think that it's a business construct, huh?
Well, you got to do a little business with, foreign, policy and stuff, but, yeah, it's all business.
Yeah, that's right. One of these days, your handlers are going to roll on you. You know that, right?
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Hey, I must have called the wrong show here. I thought I was calling my broker. I got to go make a gold deal.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, have a good one. So, all along, we've got all of these gameplays. Cruz says it won't rule out another shutdown. Okay, so you've got fourth generation warfare applied against you at any given moment in time. Julian Zelitzer says the downside for Democrats is that GOP can use extreme tactics again in a few months to keep the focus on budget cutting. Yeah, we need to keep the focus on money. Because if you realize that your children are being sex trafficked through Congress, you're going to start raising some hell here, and it's not going to be very pretty. If we don't keep the focus on food stamps and Social Security benefits, and you wake up one day and realize that your little baby over there is being sex trafficked through the sex trafficking industry through Congress, you're not going to be very happy. When you realize what's in their book, codex, the parts of a book, code, statute, meaning statements of compulsion, titles and chapters, those are all parts of a book, and it's written in Revelation. When you're able to open and realize that book, your wrath is made known. Now, I don't spend my time waiting around for some Jesus in the future to come and save me. We took on the federal government, we sued them, we won. Now, you're watching some of them being held accountable right now, but I am absolutely, and without a question, appalled that 184 attorneys and individuals were charged out of a pool of 70,000 pedophiles who were a member of a site called boylover.net. Now, call in. I want to hear from others. I want to hear from you. 310-421-4053. Call in. I want to talk about this because, our focus is on monetary values and finances and food stamps and Social Security and constitutional theory, gas prices and food prices, commodity trading, and you're not looking at futures, which is projected human production. You're not looking at what is the GDP. That's you. That's your babies. CNN says the shutdown's biggest loser is ... Obama says Americans are fed up. Next 3 years could be really tough. It's not tough on me. I don't subscribe to that government. I am not a citizen. I'm not a resident of that government. I do not participate. I'm not partaking of the tree of knowledge. I'm not partaking of the snake in the grass selling me all these pretty trinkets and these pretty baubles in exchange for my freaking children. All of you who are out there with your heads in the sand and you're twiddling your little thumbs and texting and promoting this game by paying your taxes and by promoting it by rushing to the hospital and calling 911 on your neighbor every time you turn around. You're promoting child, female, and male trafficking. If I get one more person that tells me they pay taxes like a good boy, I'm going to pull my hair out. That's not a good thing. You're funding child sex trafficking. One more person comes to me and tells me, help me, Tammy, I'm losing my condo, my second or third house. You get mad when I don't answer that, by the way. And then you get further and further, levels of aggression against me. Ask me, why are you being ignored? I don't deal with property. I deal with human beings. I'm here for humanity. I don't have any interest in saving your second, third, fourth home. I don't have any interest in saving your motor home. I don't have any interest in, saving anything of monetary value. You are being human trafficked. Your children are being traded on the market as product. You're being killed in soft sell manners. accidental prescription deaths. You're told every day by the television what those medications do, so it's your suicide. And maybe, 10 years from now, if you die, your kids can get 10 grand, 5 grand based on your prescription death. Well, the backhand of that is trading $33 billion worth on your body. For all of those that don't realize what that is not a good trade. A human doesn't have value. It cannot be valued as to a numerical sense. Attorneys do well with valuing and devaluing humans. Churches do great with denominational values. For me, you don't have a value. You're priceless. And you're not supposed to be a victim of war or human trafficking. Another headline is Republican shutdown pain may boost Dems in 2014. Way back in the 1920s, when the Democrats were the conservative party, they created the KKK, groomed it, brought it forth, presented it to you. By the 1960s, because there was a paradigm shift in 1938 with stare decisis, the Democratic Party is as you know it today. The Liberal Party, and they had established affirmative action and other programs to combat the KKK and other things that they put in place by which to sell you concepts. And then they sold you your rights on the other end of those concepts after they stole them, teaching you that you have color that separates you and you have all of these things. They it's a great business model for them. Now, we've changed all of these things. We went after them. However, at this time, we are under excessive force by which to get us to shut up. And it's not just me personally. Now, Hawk has been experiencing for the last several months variants on medical industry, psychological industry, all of these things that are being put upon him, not in his direct purview. He gets hit financially and we go down. I cannot promote it enough that I thank those that support the station. And I ask others who are listening, please support this station. Please go to our listener support pages. Please keep us on the air. We're not here if you're not supporting us, and I ask that you do so. All of this is created and maintained by Congress, of course. Now, Congress's firstborn son, the voice of everything, is the Broadcasting Board of Governors. You've got the Broadcasting Board of Governors has all known control of all known civil media internationally. That means in China, they're going to hear what Congress wants them to hear. And in Korea, they're going to hear what Congress wants them to hear. And in India, they're going to hear all about westernized thought and westernized medicine and westernized concepts and the promotion of such. They're going to hear about female rights, men's rights, children's rights, and all these other concepts by which to sell you things from the law merchants so you can purchase them. It's great for business for Congress. Congress has had global governance since 1941 with the Atlantic Charter that Roosevelt and Winston Churchill signed an agreement. Everybody needs to look around and realize the 1942 Master Land Lease Agreement that followed, because you're renting the space. Every form of production that we spoke about earlier, taxation and consumption, medicine, psychology, death, criminalization, All of these only occur with your consent. You consume. You pay your taxes like good boys and good girls. And those of us who are out of the system, who do not consent, are being pushed along as much as the lemmings were pushed along. So here's a whole bunch of lemmings following the piper, and they're heading towards the cliff. Well, the first lemmings that are on the front lines, what happens? Well, the rest of the lemmings push them over the cliff. That can no longer occur. All you lemmings need to stop and turn the other way, because I do not tolerate being pushed over the side of the cliff. You can stand on the fence as long as you want to. Whatever will be, it's going to happen to you. You have to get out of other people's ways, and you know, I will not tolerate you pushing me over the side of that cliff towards that piper. And of course that probably sounds quite, mean. Okay, whatever you need to fit into your head or justify whatever. No, I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. I've given up everything on behalf of humanity. I'm here. Hawk gives up everything. He supports the station when you don't. This is not a little kid's game. You are in a war. And variants and war tactics are used against you that you would never even imagine. And I urge everybody to go read Quiet Weapons for Silent Wars. First and foremost, watch Bill's documentary, William Cooper, Behold a Pale Horse. That lecture is something that everybody needs to hear. That was the antithesis following the thesis of the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. After you read Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, you need to look around and see what's going on, because then you'll be able to see it for what it is. You've got all of these warfare tactics used against you. Fourth generation warfare creates the puppet governments. Low intensity conflict is use of child protective services, is use of the GAL or the mediator at your local courthouse. That's a military force. Those are war tactics. Offering you sticks and carrots and welfare benefits is use of hearts and minds. It's to bring you on point. It's to make you and align you with the political agenda. And once you realize these things, you can see this for what it is. And it is at that point that your wrath shall be made known. And that's the whole point of Revelation. When something is revealed to you, revelation, that's when you stand up and end the onslaught. It's not a question of waiting on somebody or something to occur. This is you. This is real time. We've got another caller, it looks like. Andy, are you there?
Hi, Tammy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm up here in Canada.
Yeah, fun place. Geography-wise.
Pardon?
Oh, it sounds like you're weed eating.
I'm what?
Sounded like a weed eater or something.
A weed eater. Oh, okay.
Nope. How's it looking up there?
It's nice. It's cool. Beautiful fall weather. It's my favorite season.
So, what is the consensus out there, or the current chatter up in Canada regarding the government shutdown? What effects did you feel there, if any?
Oh, well, that's hard for me to answer because I don't really watch the mainstream news anymore. And I did talk to my Dad about it and my family a little bit last night. They're just basically everybody's oblivious to this. Like, really, it makes me, like, I feel like I can't talk to anyone because nobody knows. You know, I got a few, um, oh yeah, they're having problems down there or something, you know.
Well, there's
and nobody connects us to be under Congress. That was a new one for me too. That's kind of what I wanted to ask for more clarification, or just for you to talk on that point more, how Canada was sort of under Congress. But I know you've said it before, so I had some other questions too. But basically, people are just it's frustrating because nobody, like, all they have to do is say one thing, and I'm like, I know you're totally in the, you know, you don't even have a clue what's going on.
Right.
You know.
Well, years ago, when they entered into the Versailles treaties, that was something profound that affected Canada, because Canadian was a French territory for the longest time. Under the Commonwealth, it appeared as if it was part of a monarchy, although the monarchy turned into a commonwealth at some point in time, and that's where you have the establishment of the United Kingdom that disallows the monarchy. The monarchy, I mean, especially this last week, you could see that, and I would point them over to the UK as, you know, they were maintaining that the Queen got a new allotment for her welfare benefits under the common law, or common funds. That maintains that she's a commoner just as much as any citizen. She's always been maintained as a figurehead, even after congressional seceded the English estates and maintained the United Kingdom. But you can go all the way back to, as I said, the Versailles treaties, the treaties of Versailles and related fallout from that, to see how Canada was taken over first, and all of these presentations maintained through the agencies. And now, you know, one of the most easy to see things is the social programs that Canada allows its sheeple citizens. So they have the highest, like, cash assistance, food stamps assistance, things like that for their sheeple. Okay, so when you go looking into the back end of that, it goes through the Department of Transportation here, mainly through agreement with the General Council, which is, it's that part is hard to explain because it's located in Texas, but Texas is a trade route. Okay, so if you go to the Texas code and search out bridges, tunnels, and turnpike acts, you'll find the correlation between Texas and Canada, or the trade route in Canada. Texas only exists as a written about state. Geography means to write about the earth. So it's just mapped out by, of course, the Department of Defense, Rand Corporation. So you have a whole system of common welfare maintained through our Department of Transportation. That means that as people are getting speeding tickets, rolling through red lights, getting in car accidents, everything else, the insurance companies are funneling those insurance derivatives through Canadian social service programs, and this is happening all across the globe. When you look at the origins of the original charters, those things are agreements on the high seas, piracy, blah, blah, blah. They're taking subjects onto their vessels. Okay, so the maritime aspect is always there. So when you go to the Versailles treaties, for example, France owns all the water. So whatever land or land mass floats upon that water, they're renting that water from France. Okay, so the United States Incorporated sits on France's water. They've got to pay rent over that of France. How do they pay rent? Well, it goes through productivity. Okay, so all of these municipal water rights, municipal everything else, every time you pay a bill into your local municipality, there's a cut of that goes to France for the rent on that water. Okay, every time you get a speeding ticket, the depreciation of course, is through Spain because of the aspect of offsetting congressional bankruptcy back at the Treaty of Peace. And so you've got all these treaties that are agreements between two banks to offset congressional bankruptcy. And it's all just maintained as an illusion. It's a business construct.
And that's how it's sort of world dominance, right? Like they've sort of taken a little piece of everything and just, like a big web.
Absolutely. And it's just this big, if you can imagine it like a mall, it's like just one huge mall floating on water. These corporations are renting out franchises, and the human being has been in a franchise state since its birth or docking on France's water and the dock that the United States Incorporated rents from France.
Okay, I know this. The complicatedness of this is just so vast that I'll never understand it all. I know you have read so much and you know so much about it, but can you talk a little bit about what, like, practically what it means to get out of this thing? Like, what does it mean for a normal person, like, their driver's license, taxes, job, security number, a mortgage, or renting a place? Like, just those normal things. Does it mean that I can't have a driver's license, that I don't have a mortgage, I rent, I do have a driver's license, I have a job, but I'm actually off on benefits right now, we'll just put it that way. So in that way, they have me, and I know it's not good, but, what does it look like for a person to realistically get out of it? Are like the bad and the good, basically. Like the bad, okay, you can't have a driver's license, you can't have plates in your car, you're going to be hassled, yet they can't come after you for court and stuff like that would be the good part of it. Like, could you just sort of lay it out for what it would mean to just a person coming out of it?
Well, you're not just anything. You started out as a vessel, and what happened was you were kidnapped from your original state of being along a trafficking or trade route. And at that point in time, upon the trauma that you experienced through the British East Indian Trading Corporation, or Portugal or Spain or France or whoever was coming through your area at the time to steal you and take you to a different place to teach you culture, psychology, and language, which is Babylonian theory. Prior to that, you were the big vessel. You were everything. You had everything. And they subjugated you down to the point where now you are considering yourself a person or just an individual or just a citizen, when in reality you are that vessel, and they didn't have any right to kidnap you in the first place. They didn't have any right to communicate with you. They didn't have any right to teach you psychology, conceptual design, language, Babylonian theory in the first place in order to bring you on point to where you are now. The reason that you subscribe to this and the reason that they're able to monetize the consumptive good is through the use of the English language, which is the language of commerce. This allows you to be outside of your state of being 10 times sometimes. We're describing a sunset as a painting now instead of as a real thing. We're describing colors. They can be on fire. That red is on fire. Oh, it's gorgeous. Okay, how does red first get a personhood? Secondly, how can it burn and have, an action to it? So we have to get away from all of this Babylonian theory first. First, you have to, like Jesus used to say, divest yourself of all that possesses you. So get rid of all of those constructs and go back to Greek and Latin and find out what these words mean. Find out how you are targeted in a war and maintained in a state of being outside of your original state of being, which was frequency. I mean, that's all of life. A tree has frequency.
I get that part big time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they have subjugated everybody through the use of variants on frequencies. So now we have all this language, we have all these sounds and all these chords and all of these weights and measures that are moving us further and further and further and further away from being that big vessel. You have to be the big vessel. You have to come in and hold it accountable, because if you don't, you're still subjugated to it, or subject of that policy, that structure. And in order to get out of that business model, you have to stand. I know that it's hard. I'm there. I live it every single day. This is what our function is. If we do not stand, we just get consumed. We're just taken up into this machine, and it's done. It continues to happen. Our children continue to be stolen. Our grandparents continue to be slaughtered through the medical industry. Our parents continue to be slaughtered through the medical industry. The average productivity is maintained up to the age of 50. After you turn 50, that's where you enter into the psychological, medical, or criminal industry, because you're not producing as much as you were before.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to be an animal or subject to this thing as a farm animal is not tolerable to me. And it can be tolerable to you. You are a being.
It's not tolerable to me either. I'm the type of person that I want to learn this and even start holding people accountable for the people I love, and start just, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of on the same wavelength with you there, where you're kind of doing this for humanity. It's not like I have to. I feel like, you know, we have to stand. Like, I totally agree with you.
Absolutely. But it's not, I don't mean to lay it on your shoulders or do anything other to, but a lot of times we're subscribing to geographical patriotism or familial patriotism, or subscribing to, patriotism to landmass and designs and all of these things. And we need to back up and realize what we're patronizing first, so that we can get rid of that. That's the first step. It's the most subtle things in this war design that are entrapping us and forcing us into contract. Realize your ability. Everybody's been taught that they have to be this or that, or they have to strive to be this or that. But when you stop striving to be and you realize that you are, then so much just falls off of your shoulders, because the most of the pressure is put on you by you being the judge. You're always looking over your shoulder and thinking that somebody's watching you. There's nobody watching you. It's you that's been taught to watch you, to put all these pressures upon you, to strive to be something else. And that's the most significant aspect of what needs to occur. Before you can go forward, you have to drop all of those preconceived notions, concepts that we hold on to. I mean, as a female, we were absolutely indoctrinated as females, because that's the way to get at the children, is to indoctrinate through hearts and minds all of these benefits and nice little trinkets. And as soon as we garner those benefits, we start losing grasp on our family and our children and our grandparents and everything else, because then we're striving to hold on to those benefits. That is the epitome of Pareto's rule. Pareto optimality is how this works. It's Pareto optimal for you to hold on to that benefit and keep holding on, because you don't want to lose the benefit. And then in comes the government or a religious structure, and it says, I'm going to take that benefit if, I'm going to take that benefit if, I'm going to take that benefit if, and it keeps this extortionate play going on at all times. And so you've got this force. Well, once your benefit becomes in doubt or you feel it like pulling away from you, you grab onto it even more. No, give me that benefit. I'm a good citizen. And I want to hold on to this, so I'm going to get my contract with you just for a little bit longer. No, that's the pull. That is the pull. That is hearts and minds. They're holding in front of you sticks and carrots, and they're saying, na 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 na, and they're constantly lifting that little it's at the end of a fishing line, and they're, come on, chase this, and that is consumptive behavior. You're buying into those concepts.
Okay, so if they're tempting us with these carrots and all that, that sort of implies that it's obvious that we are the ones with any worth, our labor of our life, right? That's the only thing that's of worth, really. So they're taking that and profiting off of it and everything. So that kind of implies that if I can get out of this, if we get out, that how do you take back that, like, if I guess I'll call it an inheritance. Like, is there something that I can take away from them that they can't use that, or is there like, I don't want to go with the concept of an allotment of money or anything, but clearly we are monetized. So how do I stop them? So like, I know they've put a worth on that of a certain amount of dollars. How do I stop them from using that? And then if I do that, is that something that I can use to benefit me and to like benefit others and start like funding your radio show and stuff like that? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And what we did was we came in and sued them, and it's not the lawsuit itself. It's not the suit itself. It's the function of the suit. Because we're product, we're all maintained on a spreadsheet. That spreadsheet never changes. The values on the spreadsheet, they go up and down based on our assessed value and everything else. And that's another concept that everybody needs to realize. You were talking about mortgage earlier. When you assess a property, you're assessing the real estate, which is you. So you have to cover the spread in between. Those are those numbers. So on that spreadsheet, you've got the spread in between being maintained on top of your derivative value, on top of your original productivity, on top of your insured value. Okay, so all of these games are playing all at the same time around you as you, the negotiable instrument, are on that spreadsheet. Now, those cells, the numbers on those spreadsheets, just like any Excel spreadsheet, you can look at an Excel spreadsheet right now. Now, as an example, when you go into court, they call out margin and a number. Then they call out cell number and a name. That's a spreadsheet. Okay, you cannot get those numbers off that spreadsheet, right? It's always ongoing, and it's been going on for a very long time. So in order to replace that value, you've got to stick something else in there. And that's what we did in this case. We stuck the attorneys in there to offset your value. We said, no, that's a fiction. That banker, that attorney, that judge, that agent, that's a fiction. It's going to be in the place of that human being. And we've already done that. But humanity has to stand up now, because that is the name of the game. That spreadsheet is bankruptcy. That spreadsheet is Westminster statute. And if anybody really wants to realize what this game is, go back and read the Westminster statutes. Go read ecclesiastical law. And so those depraved states, we put the attorneys only, agents only, bankers, banks only, fictions on that spreadsheet. Everybody who wanted to deliver people up, everybody who wanted to play in the human trafficking game, anybody who wanted to seek title and be a fiction, they're on that spreadsheet. We did all the work, but now humanity has to stand up.
And what does that mean for me to stand up? Would do exactly what?
Just keep teaching it. Teach what it is and what Jesus said. And of course, Jesus is a metaphor. Jesus means your earth. What Jesus was maintaining is, if they don't listen, walk on. Go forward. You're not supposed to go sideways. You're not supposed to go backwards. You're not supposed to beat your head against the wall. You're not supposed to be casting pearls to swine. And that is something that is so hard for you, because at the beginning of our conversation, you said, hey, look, I'm trying to tell my family. They don't want to hear it. I pounded my head against the wall forever. I tried to save my dad forever. And my mother is a narcissist. She's, I was attempted on, sleeping with sheriffs and sleeping with attorneys and everything else to garner those benefits. You'd be surprised at who is actually brokering you and who is actually doing these things upon you, because most of the time it's within your own family, within your own community. You know these people, they're benefiting off of your demise. Now, Jesus, it was very profound in Matthew when a disciple came to Jesus and he says, please, please let me just go bury my father. And Jesus said, no, you got to go forward. You let the dead bury their own dead. Stop beating your head against the wall. Stop attempting to bring them to the other side. If they're with the other daddy, let them be with the other daddy. They can go and replace that number in that spreadsheet. That is not going to be me, and it's not going to be a child. It will be an adult that's choosing to go over with that other father. I don't care who that is. I don't care if it has big doe eyes. I don't care if it has great knockers. I don't care if it has a vagina. I'm not chivalrous. I have absolutely no chivalry. If you're there and you're delivering children up, if you're using children, if you're using adults, if you're using old people, whatever it is for your financial motivation, you are now on that spreadsheet. And you are choosing that. I am not choosing that. My free will says that no, I'm not there. I will move on, and you have to move on. I know how hard it is. I faced the same thing 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago, but it was the best decision I had ever made. It hurt like hell, but it was the best decision I ever made, and that is what Jesus was trying to tell us. Let the dead bury their own dead. Stop staying there because you're not going forward and you're not hearing this. You know, if we're always beating our head against the wall, please, mommy, please, daddy, please, brother, please, sister, please, 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 you're never going anywhere. You're always going backwards or sideways, and nothing is happening. No cure is being found. No one's being held accountable. You're just constantly in this cyclical pattern of trying to convince them to come along with you. Stop doing that. You got to go forward, because humanity overall is much more important than just one individual.
I'm not even trying to convince them to see my side. I'm just saying, like, basically I've had the negative consequences of what I've been doing is, like, I've started out small and I've started, like, challenging the debts and stuff. And, you know, I was just starting out with this stuff. So I've been challenging debts and stuff like that, and so it's affected my credit score, and then so that has affected my ability to rent another apartment. And it just came out that, you know, because I was going to get someone to co-sign for me, and nope, they wouldn't.
We'll finish up next week. Andy, stay on the line after the call, and we'll finish. See you next week, everybody, right here on Revolution Radio Freedom Subside Time. Please support this station. Love you, everybody.